Tom opened his eyes slowly. His head felt heavy and strange. The ceiling above him was not the white ceiling of his apartment. Instead, he saw purple crystal formations that glowed with soft light. The air smelled different too, like flowers he had never encountered before. He sat up carefully and looked around. He was lying on what seemed to be a bed, but it was made of smooth crystal that somehow felt comfortable. The room was huge and beautiful. Crystal walls rose high above him, and strange symbols glowed along the surfaces. Through a large window, he could see stars moving past slowly. Tom realized he was wearing clothes he had never seen before. Instead of his usual pajamas, he wore flowing robes made of silver fabric that shimmered when he moved. On his finger was a ring with a purple stone that pulsed with the same light as the room. "Where am I?" he whispered to himself. A door opened with a soft musical sound. 3 tall beings walked into the room. They looked almost human but had pale blue skin and large silver eyes. Their hair was white and moved as if underwater. They wore simple white robes and carried small glowing devices. "The consort awakens," one of them said. The words came from a small device on Tom's wrist, translating their speech into English. "Consort?" Tom asked, confused. "I think there has been a mistake. I am Tom Bennett from Earth. I was supposed to be returning home after the treaty signing." The 3 beings looked at each other with worry in their eyes. The tallest one stepped forward. "Honored consort, you are aboard the royal ship of Queen Vera of the Zephyrian Empire. Yesterday, you participated in the sacred union ceremony. You are now bound in marriage to our queen." Tom felt his mouth fall open. "Marriage? But I never agreed to any marriage. I was just signing a friendship treaty between Earth and your people." The beings looked even more worried. The second one spoke quickly to the translator device. "The documents you signed contained the traditional marriage vows of our people. When you placed your hand on the crystal of eternal bond and spoke the words of agreement, you completed the sacred ritual." Tom remembered the ceremony from the day before. The Zephyrian representatives had been very formal. There was a beautiful crystal on the table, and they had asked him to place his hand on it while reading from a document. He had thought it was just part of their greeting customs, but I didn't know what I was doing, Tom said. "Nobody told me it was a marriage ceremony." "This creates a serious problem," the third being said. "Our queen was also not informed that the human representative understood the ritual as something else. She believed she was making a political alliance with your species." Tom stood up from the crystal bed. His legs felt shaky, but he managed to walk to the window. Outside, he could see the vast darkness of space filled with countless stars. In the distance, a blue and green planet slowly turned. It took him a moment to recognize it as Earth. "I need to speak with your queen," Tom said. "We need to fix this situation immediately." "That may not be possible," the first being said sadly. "In our culture, the sacred union cannot be broken once completed. It is a bond for life. Breaking it would bring shame to both families and could cause war between our peoples." Tom felt panic rising in his chest. "War? But this is all a misunderstanding." "Yes, but our laws do not recognize misunderstanding as a reason to break the sacred union. However, Queen Vera has requested to meet with you. She is also searching for a solution." The 3 beings led Tom through corridors filled with more glowing crystals. Other Zephyrians they passed stopped to stare at him. Some bowed respectfully, while others whispered among themselves. Tom could hear his translator device picking up fragments of their conversations. "The human consort looks so different. Can this union truly be blessed by the ancestors? What will happen to our traditions?" They arrived at a set of tall doors decorated with intricate patterns that seemed to move and change as Tom watched them. The doors opened silently, revealing a vast throne room. The ceiling was so high that it disappeared into purple mist. Hundreds of Zephyrians stood along the walls, all watching Tom with curious eyes. At the far end of the room, on a throne made of white crystal, sat Queen Vera. She was taller than the others, with long silver hair that flowed down to the floor. Her skin had a slight purple tint, and her eyes were the color of deep ocean water. She wore a crown made of floating crystal pieces that slowly orbited around her head. Tom walked toward the throne, his footsteps echoing in the huge space. When he reached the base of the crystal steps, he wasn't sure if he should bow or speak first. Queen Vera stood up from her throne and walked down the steps toward him. When she spoke, her voice was musical and calm. "Human Tom Bennett," she said through the translator. "I am Queen Vera of the Zephyrian Empire. It seems we both find ourselves in an unexpected situation." "Your Majesty," Tom said, trying to be respectful. "I apologize for this confusion. I had no idea that signing your treaty would create a marriage bond, nor did I realize that humans do not understand our bonding customs," the Queen replied. "However, the deed is completed. According to our laws, we are now united for life. This creates complications for both of our peoples." Tom looked around at the hundreds of watching faces. He could feel the weight of their stares and understood that whatever happened next would affect not just him and the Queen, but the future relationship between humans and Zephyrians. "What do we do now?" Tom asked. Queen Vera's expression was serious but not unkind. "Now, human Tom Bennett, we must find a way to make this union work, or risk destroying the peace between our worlds." The next morning, Tom woke up in his crystal chamber to find 3 Zephyrian servants waiting for him. They held different sets of robes and spoke in hushed tones to each other. When they noticed he was awake, they immediately began arguing about which outfit he should wear. "The blue robes show respect for the morning stars," one servant said through the translator. "But the silver robes honor the queen's family line," another replied. "The purple robes represent the sacred union," the third added. Tom sat up slowly, still trying to understand his situation. "What happens if I choose the wrong color?" The servants looked shocked. The first one stepped forward carefully. "Wrong color could offend different court families. Each color sends a message about your intentions and loyalties." Tom realized that even something as simple as getting dressed was complicated in Zephyrian culture. Which color would cause the least problems? "The silver robes," all 3 servants said together. "They show respect to Queen Vera without choosing sides in court politics." After getting dressed, Tom was taken to the royal dining hall. The room was filled with long tables made of green crystal. Dozens of Zephyrian nobles sat eating their breakfast, which seemed to consist of glowing liquids and small crystal formations. Queen Vera sat at the head table and gestured for Tom to join her. As he walked through the hall, conversations stopped. Every pair of silver eyes followed his movement. Tom could feel the tension in the air. "Good morning, Tom Bennett," Queen Vera said as he sat down beside her. "I trust you slept well in your new quarters." "Yes, Your Majesty, thank you," Tom replied, "though I am still trying to understand everything that has happened." A servant placed a bowl of glowing blue liquid in front of Tom. He stared at it uncertainly. "It is safe for human consumption," Queen Vera explained. "Our scientists analyzed your biological needs yesterday. This contains nutrients your body requires." Tom tasted the liquid carefully. It had a sweet flavor like honey mixed with mint. "It's actually quite good, thank you." An older Zephyrian with darker blue skin and elaborate robes approached their table. His silver hair was braided with small crystals that chimed softly when he moved. "Your Majesty," he said with a formal bow, "the High Council requests an immediate meeting about the situation with the human consort." Queen Vera's expression became more serious. "Very well, Councillor Bex. We shall meet in the council chamber after the morning meal." Tom noticed that Councillor Bex looked at him with obvious disapproval. Other nobles at nearby tables were also whispering and pointing in his direction. "Are they upset about our marriage?" Tom asked quietly. "Many of them are confused," Queen Vera replied. "This is the first time in our history that a queen has bonded with someone from another species. Some fear it will weaken our traditions." After breakfast, Tom accompanied Queen Vera to the council chamber. It was a circular room with 12 crystal thrones arranged around a glowing center platform. 11 elderly Zephyrians sat on the thrones, their faces showing various degrees of concern and displeasure. Councillor Bex stood up and spoke in formal tones. "Your Majesty, the High Council has discussed this unprecedented situation. We believe the sacred union should be dissolved immediately." "That is impossible," Queen Vera replied firmly. "You all know our laws. The sacred union cannot be broken once completed." "But this human does not understand our ways," another counselor argued. "He cannot fulfill the duties of a royal consort. He knows nothing of our customs, our history, or our spiritual practices." Tom felt all eyes turned toward him. He stood up slowly, knowing this moment was important. "Honored counselors," he began, "you are correct that I do not know your customs yet, but I am willing to learn. On Earth, we believe that understanding between different peoples makes both sides stronger." "What can a human possibly teach the Zephyrian Empire?" Councillor Bex asked with obvious doubt in his voice. Tom thought carefully before answering. "Perhaps nothing, but maybe my different perspective could be useful sometimes. On Earth, we have learned that when different cultures work together, they often discover new solutions to old problems." One of the younger counselors leaned forward with interest. "What kind of solutions?" Well, Tom said, "Humans have many different cultures on one planet. When they share knowledge, they create better medicine, build stronger structures, and solve problems none of them could handle alone." Queen Vera watched the exchange with growing curiosity. "Tom Bennett, would you be willing to study our customs and traditions if the council agrees to give you time to prove yourself?" "Absolutely, Your Majesty," Tom replied. "I want to understand your people and find a way to honor both of our cultures." Councillor Bex frowned deeply. "And what if you fail? What if you cannot adapt to our ways?" Tom met his gaze steadily. "Then I will accept whatever consequences the council decides. But I ask for a fair chance to try." The counselors began debating among themselves in rapid zephyr. Tom's translator could only catch fragments of their conversation, but he could tell they were divided in their opinions. Finally, Queen Vera raised her hand for silence. "The High Council will have 3 months to evaluate Tom Bennett's progress in learning our ways. During this time, he will study with our cultural teachers and participate in court activities. If he proves capable of fulfilling his duties as consort, the sacred union will stand. If not, we will seek alternative solutions." "What kind of alternative solutions?" Tom asked. "We do not know yet," Queen Vera admitted. "No one has ever faced this situation before. We will need to create new laws if traditional ones do not work." As the council meeting ended, Tom realized his real challenge was just beginning. He needed to learn an entire alien culture in 3 months, while proving he could be a worthy partner to their queen. The future of human-Zephyrian relations might depend on his success or failure, but Tom felt determined. He had always been good at learning new things, and he genuinely wanted to understand these remarkable people who had accidentally become his new family. 2 weeks into his cultural studies, Tom was making steady progress. He had learned to read basic Zephyrian symbols and could understand their calendar system. Each morning, he studied with teacher Natla, an elderly Zephyrian who specialized in educating young nobles about their traditions. However, Tom could sense that many court members still doubted him. Counselor Bex continued to watch him with disapproval, and several nobles whispered when he passed by in the corridors. Everything changed on the morning when emergency bells began ringing throughout the ship. Tom was in the Crystal Library studying ancient Zephyrian poetry when Queen Vera burst through the doors, her face filled with worry. Several panicked counselors followed behind her. "Tom Bennett," she said urgently, "we need your help immediately." "What's happening?" Tom asked, setting down his study tablet. "Our food production colonies are dying," Queen Vera explained as they hurried toward the command center. "A strange plague is destroying all our crystal crops. Our scientists cannot find the cause or a solution." In the command center, dozens of Zephyrians worked frantically at glowing control panels. Large screens showed images of the Zephyrian agricultural worlds. Tom could see vast fields of what looked like colorful crystal trees, but many of them were turning black and crumbling. Chief Scientist Drawn approached them with a grim expression. "Your Majesty, the plague has spread to 17 farming worlds. At this rate, we will lose all food production within 2 months. What exactly are these crystal crops?" Tom asked. "They are living crystals that grow in our special soil," Drone explained. "They absorb nutrients from the ground and transform them into food we can eat. They have sustained our civilization for thousands of years." Tom studied the images on the screens carefully. The dying crystals showed patterns he recognized from his basic biology studies on Earth. "Have you tried introducing any kind of biological treatment?" he asked. The Zephyrians looked confused. "Biological treatment?" Drawn repeated. "Living organisms that could help fight the disease," Tom explained. "We do not use living organisms in our technology," Drawn said firmly. "All Zephyrian science is based on pure crystal formations and energy manipulation. Living things are too unpredictable and messy." Tom felt a spark of understanding. "But what if that's exactly what you need?" Queen Vera stepped closer. "What do you mean?" "On Earth we learned that many diseases can be fought using beneficial living organisms," Tom explained. "We call them probiotics or beneficial bacteria. They compete with harmful organisms and can restore balance to biological systems." "Bacteria?" Counselor Beck said with disgust. "You want to introduce harmful microorganisms to our food supply?" "Not harmful ones," Tom said patiently. "Helpful ones. On Earth, we use good bacteria to fight bad bacteria all the time. It's how we preserve food, treat diseases, and maintain healthy soil for growing crops." Chief Scientist Drawn shook his head. "This goes against everything we know about proper science. Crystals are pure and perfect. Living organisms are chaotic and unreliable. But your crystal crops are living too, aren't they?" Tom pointed out. "They grow, they reproduce, they get sick. Maybe they need the same kind of biological balance that living things on Earth need." Queen Vera looked thoughtful. "The High Council declared that you must prove your worth through a trial of understanding. Perhaps this crisis is that trial." "What does the trial involve?" Tom asked. "You must solve a problem that threatens our people using only your human knowledge and perspective," Queen Vera explained. "If you succeed, the Council will acknowledge your value to our empire." Counselor Bex stepped forward angrily. "Your Majesty, you cannot seriously consider letting this human experiment with our food supply. If he fails, our people will starve. If we do nothing, our people will starve anyway." Queen Vera replied. "Tom Bennett, what would you need to test your theory?" Tom thought carefully. "I would need samples of your crystal crops, both healthy and diseased. I would also need access to soil samples from your agricultural worlds, and I would need permission to introduce Earth-based microorganisms in a controlled test environment." "This is madness," Counselor Bex declared. "No Zephyrian leader has ever allowed alien organisms into our agricultural systems. No Zephyrian leader has ever faced the complete destruction of our food supply either," Queen Vera said firmly. "Chief Scientist Drawn, prepare a sealed laboratory for Tom Bennett's experiments. We will test his theory on a small scale before considering larger applications." For the next 3 days, Tom worked tirelessly in the laboratory. He studied the crystal crops under Zephyrian microscopes, and discovered that they did indeed have biological components that resembled plant cellular structures. The diseased crystals showed signs of infection by harmful microorganisms that were attacking their growth systems. Tom realized that the Zephyrians had created an agricultural system that was too sterile, leaving their crops vulnerable when aggressive organisms finally appeared. Using bacterial cultures from Earth samples and his personal belongings, Tom carefully introduced beneficial microorganisms to diseased crystal crop specimens. He watched nervously as the Earth bacteria began interacting with the Zephyrian crystal biology. On the third day, something amazing happened. The diseased crystal crops began changing color from black back to their healthy blue and green hues. The beneficial bacteria were successfully competing with the harmful organisms and restoring balance to the crop biology. It's working, Tom announced excitedly to Queen Vera and the gathered scientists. Chief Scientist Straunt stared at the healthy crystal crops in amazement. How is this possible? The organic organisms are actually improving the crystal structures. Because everything in nature works better when different parts support each other, Tom explained. Your crystals aren't just technology, they're living systems that need biological balance. Queen Vera smiled for the first time since the crisis began. Tom Bennett, your human perspective has saved our people from starvation. The High Council will have to acknowledge that this sacred union brings value to our empire. Even Counselor Bex looked impressed, though he tried to hide it. The human's solution is unconventional, but the results cannot be argued. As news of Tom's success spread throughout the ship, Zephyrians began looking at him with new respect. He had proven that humans could contribute something valuable to their advanced civilization, and that different ways of thinking could solve problems that pure technology could not. Tom felt proud, but he also realized this was just the beginning. He had passed the trial, but now he needed to help implement his solution across an entire empire. The success of Tom's biological solution spread quickly throughout the Zephyrian Empire. Over the following weeks, teams of scientists worked to implement his bacterial treatment across all affected agricultural worlds. Tom found himself constantly busy, traveling between different planets to oversee the restoration process. During one such trip to the farming world of Christia Prime, Tom stood in a vast field with Queen Vera, watching as the crystal crops returned to their healthy, vibrant colors. The sight was breathtaking. Towering crystal formations stretched to the horizon, now glowing with renewed life in shades of emerald, sapphire, and amethyst. Your people will never face starvation again, Tom said, watching Zephyrian farmers tend to their restored crops. But this is just the beginning. We could improve your agricultural systems even more. Queen Vera looked curious. What do you mean? On Earth, we practice something called crop diversity, Tom explained. Instead of growing the same crystal formations everywhere, you could develop different varieties that grow better in different conditions. Some could resist diseases better, others could produce more nutrients, and some could grow faster. Our ancestors believed that uniformity created stability, Queen Vera replied thoughtfully. All crystal crops have been identical for thousands of years. But diversity creates strength, Tom said. When everything is the same, one problem can destroy everything. When you have variety, some plants will always survive to feed your people. As they walked through the crystal fields, Tom noticed young Zephyrian farmers approaching them with shy curiosity. Most had never seen a human before, and they stared at Tom with wide silver eyes. Honored consort, one young farmer said nervously. Is it true that humans grow food from dirt without crystals? Tom smiled. We do. We grow plants in soil using seeds and water and sunlight. Would you like to learn how? The farmer's face lit up with excitement. Yes, please, teach us. That evening, Queen Vera made an important announcement to her advisors. Tom Bennett has shown us that different perspectives bring valuable solutions. Therefore, I am establishing the first cultural exchange program between humans and Zephyr. Counselor Bex shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Your Majesty, are you certain this is wise? Our culture has remained pure for millennia, and that purity nearly led to our starvation, Queen Vera replied firmly. Tom's human knowledge saved our empire. Imagine what we could achieve by learning from each other regularly. Within days, the first group of human scientists and farmers arrived from Earth aboard a specially designed transport ship. Tom felt excited to see familiar faces again, but he also realized how much he had changed during his time with the Zephyr. Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's leading agricultural expert, was among the first humans to step onto the Zephyrian royal ship. She stared in amazement at the crystal architecture surrounding them. Tom, this is incredible, she said, giving him a friendly hug. When we heard about your discovery, every scientist on Earth wanted to come study Zephyrian technology. Wait until you see their crystal crops, Tom replied eagerly. They've created living crystals that can photosynthesize and grow like plants, and their energy systems are completely clean and renewable. The cultural exchange began immediately. Human experts taught Zephyrians about soil science, biodiversity, and organic farming techniques. In return, Zephyrian scientists shared their crystal technology, energy manipulation methods, and advanced materials science. Tom served as a translator not just for language, but for concepts. He helped humans understand Zephyrian thinking patterns, and explained human logic to confused Zephyrians. During one memorable session, Dr. Chen demonstrated how Earth plants used beneficial insects for pollination. The Zephyrian scientists were fascinated by the complex relationships between different species working together. You mean the small flying creatures actually help the plants reproduce? Asked Chief Scientist, drawn with wonder. Exactly, Dr. Chen explained. The bees get nectar for food, and the flowers get their pollen spread to create new plants. Both species benefit from helping each other. This is the symbiosis concept Tom Bennett introduced to us, Queen Vera observed. Different species supporting each other instead of competing. Over the weeks that followed, amazing discoveries emerged from the collaboration. Human botanists learned to grow earth plants in Zephyrian crystal soil, creating hybrid crops that were more nutritious than either species had achieved alone. Zephyrian engineers developed new crystal technologies. Using principles of biological adaptation they learned from human scientists. However, not all Zephyrians welcomed these changes. Tom began noticing that certain court members gathered in small groups, whispering and looking displeased whenever humans and Zephyrians worked together. One evening, while reviewing progress reports with Queen Vera, Tom expressed his concerns. "Some of your people seem unhappy with the cultural exchange program." Queen Vera sighed. "Counselor Bex leads a group of traditionalists who believe our culture is being contaminated by human influence. They fear we will lose our identity. What can we do about it?" Tom asked. "Nothing for now," Queen Vera replied. "In our society, all voices must be heard. As long as they express their concerns peacefully, they have that right." The next morning brought troubling news. Reports came in that several traditional Zephyrian families had withdrawn their children from schools where human teachers were working. Some agricultural worlds were refusing to implement the new diverse farming techniques, preferring to stick with the old methods. "The resistance is growing," Queen Vera told Tom privately. "Bex is convincing people that humans are destroying our way of life." Tom felt worried. Maybe I should speak to them directly. Try to explain that we're not trying to replace Zephyrian culture, just add new options. That might be dangerous, Queen Vera warned. "Some traditionalists view you as the source of all unwanted changes. They blame our marriage for starting this cultural mixing." Despite the growing opposition, Tom and Queen Vera continued their work. They established learning centers where young Zephyrians could study alongside human students. They created research stations where both species worked together on joint projects. They even started planning an interspecies council where humans and Zephyrians could make decisions together about their shared future. Word of their success reached other alien civilizations. Representatives from the silicon-based mechanites and the energy beings called luminols requested meetings to discuss possible alliances with the human-Zephyrian partnership. "Look what we've accomplished together," Tom said to Queen Vera as they watched a group of human and Zephyrian children playing together in the ship's recreation area. "We're building something completely new." Queen Vera smiled, but Tom could see worry in her eyes. "Yes, but Bex and his followers are building something too. I fear our success may have made them desperate enough to take drastic action." Tom realized their greatest challenge was still ahead of them. 3 months after the cultural exchange program began, Tom woke to the sound of alarm crystals echoing through the royal ship. Red warning lights flashed in his chamber, and he could hear running footsteps in the corridors outside. He quickly dressed and rushed toward the command center. Along the way, he found confused human scientists and Zephyrian workers gathering in small groups, all asking the same question: what was happening? When Tom reached the command center, he discovered Queen Vera surrounded by a group of loyal guards. Her face was tight with anger and concern. "Tom Bennett," she called when she saw him, "Counselor Bex has seized control of 3 agricultural worlds and 2 military bases. He declares that our sacred union is destroying Zephyrian culture and must be ended immediately." "Is this a rebellion?" Tom asked, feeling his heart race. "Worse," Queen Vera replied grimly. "Bex has issued an ultimatum. Either I dissolve our marriage and end all cultural exchanges with humans, or he will use the captured military bases to attack Earth directly." Tom felt cold shock wash over him. "He would actually attack my home planet. He believes that destroying Earth is the only way to preserve pure Zephyrian culture," Queen Vera explained. "His followers see humans as a disease that must be eliminated before it spreads further." Chief Scientist Dron approached them with a data tablet showing tactical information. "Your Majesty, Bex controls enough firepower to cause serious damage to Earth's cities. Our weapons technology is far more advanced than human defenses." Tom thought quickly. How much time do we have before he attacks? 12 hours, Queen Vera said. "He wants me to make a public announcement dissolving our marriage and ordering all humans to leave Zephyrian space forever." "We need to contact Earth immediately," Tom said. "They need to prepare their defenses. Earth's military cannot stop Zephyrian crystal weapons," Dron said sadly. "If Bex attacks, millions of humans will die." Tom stared at the tactical displays, showing the positions of Bex's captured forces. An idea began forming in his mind. Queen Vera? Who are Bex's followers, exactly? What kinds of Zephyrians support him? "Mostly older traditionalists from noble families," Queen Vera replied. "They come from regions that have had no contact with the cultural exchange program, so they've never actually worked with humans personally," Tom said thoughtfully. "They're afraid of something they don't really understand." "That may be true, but it doesn't help us now," Queen Vera said. "Bex has made his choice. We must respond with military force." "Wait," Tom said urgently. "What if we don't fight him? What if we prove to his followers that humans and Zephyrians working together actually makes both species stronger?